Are we live?
We are.
Michael!
Jamie, how's it going?
It's going well. So we've done this 21 times as of today.
As of today.
21 times. That's amazing.
That's a good record.
I know. We have one left after this, and then we
The Fool.
are going to jump into the minors.
Indeed. Minor leagues.
Minor league. So why are we doing this, Michael?
Why? To save our marriages.
Yes.
Our wives, our significant other, get a little annoyed when we spend hours on hours.
A little.
We're talking about the tarot. They're supportive, but
Yeah, we'll have dinner and they'll just sit there.
But they'll roll their eyes.
And we'll start talking about it because he's creating a deck.
I am.
And so we will start talking about it and they will just cross their arms like this.
And so...
No, they're very supportive.
They are.
But, I mean, how fun is that? So
we created this show, and thanks, if you haven't heard the spiel, now you have.
And we decided, me and him are not talking about it at all during the week. Okay? Because he's building a deck. He's doing his own deck. And that's part of what we were talking about all the time, is that as he was going through his decks and his cards. So...
The world.
Yes. So now we're doing the world. So
indeed,
the world. What did you come up with? So starting with the history, do you have anything interesting other than the fact it's J.M. Davids? He's right about one thing. Most people consider the Earth as the center of the universe. The world indicated both the planet Earth and the universe originally because the Earth was central to everything.
Central, right?
It was central.
So when you all the religious or spiritual paths, they all consider like a holy place, right? The holiest of holy places is the center of their world or the center of their universe, and it can be various places, but it's that same theme. What's the world for you? What's your center?
Right.
And that's what this card is really all about.
And something, I do, again, like the way J.M. David said it also, it's like you look at this card and you think of cycles and things like that, but what he's saying is that it actually represents the future. It represents the future, a promise of things to come. So if you're thinking about it in a religious context, which originally it was.
Sure.
But it is a promise of things to come and his second coming. Not by rebirth or reincarnation, but by a direct descent from spiritual reasons.
Okay.
So when people saw this card originally...
According to him.
Well, and then we can even bounce over to see the original cards where we can see like the angel sitting here. And other cards as we go into the future, it's going to be the Christ-like figure. So it is about the promise, the resurrection, the New Jerusalem.
So I agree that it is a newness. I agree that it's future looking forward. That definitely rings true. The idea of it being the revelation, the Christian bent is one path, and it's definitely
it's not when I'm
doing
a reading. When I'm doing a reading, that's not where I'm focused.
Sure.
But looking at it historically, if somebody's looking at this card, this is what they're thinking.
Possibly, or it could also be the world collective soul, the heart of the matter. I do like the going forward because I see it as the cycles, as we both do.
Right.
And this is the number one connected to the magician, which is starting. He's master of all the elements, and then you've got the fortitude, which is she's mastering opposites as well.
Right.
And the world does that as well.
Right. Well, absolutely. So that's jumping when we actually get into reading the cards.
Right.
But the way that I like to read tarot is that what even got me into a lot of this here is because and as I've explained to Mike before, I just wonder what it would have been like for the first tarot readers before there was a manual, before there was a book. Maybe the person can't even read, so they've got these cards sitting in front of them. And what would the original images be? And then from there, obviously, the imagery grew from there.
Sure.
So when I look at these cards, the initial cards, not as I go into the Rider-Waite and I go into the other ones that I read every day, but I get that mind sense of I'm looking at this card and I'm seeing, now that I've actually looked at this and looking at it a 16th century perspective, 14th century perspective, the New Jerusalem, the newness, the revelation that's coming.
And or another a way to look at it would be this is the final card, right? So this is you've reached the end of your quest. And looking back at the Madrone, one of the earliest tarot cards, the Madrone Visconti, you've got this hero with this flag of victory, and he's galloping up. And on the shore here, there's a guy fishing. Some people think that could be the Fisher King, and this could be the Grail Castle. So here's he's done the quest. He's made it through the whole Arcana, and now his reward is the Grail, the castle here,
Sure.
with the Fisher King
And if
outside.
I just show that,
yeah,
on
absolutely,
here.
yeah.
So
here's the little Fisher King, and there's the Grail Castle, and here's the conquering hero with the victory flag.
And here we are again and so when I look at this, it's like, I always think, is this going to be angel? Because they would also have Jesus there, and since there's a crown, I'm imagining that this is probably a
celestial representation.
Some type, but without even knowing what it is.
We don't. Yeah.
So, and what year was this particular deck?
So the Madrone is...
Are they guesstimating?
Yeah, so it is one of the first. The Madrone Carrigail goes back to 1440 about. And that's only 67 cards survived from that version of the Visconti.
Right. And so this is a game, and so people are copying, they're looking at them, hand copying. Some people have different things. And so as I'm looking at this particular card, since we have still this person here, we have the cities in the background. The big difference here is that it's not a circle, but it's still, if you kind of look at it with this, you have the people sitting on top of the same as that,
right,
and the cities underneath it. So it appears to me to still be a representation of, the holiness sitting on top up here. And
absolutely, yeah. And you go to the Visconti, another Visconti that comes a little bit later, but you still got that city. Now it's being held by these cherubs,
right?
But still got the walled, hexagonal walled city, having that Grail-like, completed quest symbology going on there.
So, looking at these originals, so we're looking at, for like the Estes deck, with the kids, the cherub sits on top, with you got the wings of an eagle, and eagles are always about royalty and highness like that. And so you can't really tell, but as we go through, one of the popular features that are in the deck is that orb with the cross on it, which is the Globus Crucifer. It's in his right hand and a wand in his left hand. And like a lot of others, so this is represented by the world, and this is the water, this is the ocean as they perceive it going around the flat earth. So there's waves in there.
Okay.
And so that's that one. And so that's 1473. And then the Charles VI here, she's got more of a green field going around it, but the water's on the outside here.
And I love the whole idea of water being, it's you're transitioning from one phase to the next.
Right. And so I also picked this particular card for one reason.
It does have that polygonal halo in there.
What does that mean, Michael?
Well, yeah, with some believe that in this deck, the Charles the Sixth, or what is Charles the Fourth? What's it called? Charles
the Sixth.
Okay, yeah. So those represent the virtues, and so some people link this card with prudence.
Right.
That it could or could not.
Representing a woman of virtue. But
yes,
and so
indeed.
some people are saying that might be prudence.
Could be.
And are you including that in your...
So, no, I have my own card dedicated to prudence.
Oh, that's right.
And she will have the polygonal halo, but I keep the world as something separate. So for my card, for the soul, I go back to the whole idea of it being the world soul, which is the that's something Robert Place mentions in his book, that it was originally, that was the whole point. It was just the world. It was the world's soul, the anima mundi, or the heart and soul of the world. He was linking it to these early Hermetic images of the Philosopher's Stone, and very similar. It's got the wreath around it. You've got the elementals in the corner, and you've got this heart. And these ones are kind of have the Christian bent, so it's got the crowned wreath and the wounds of Christ on the 5 wounds on the heart there. But the idea is that it's the heart or the soul of the world there in the center, and he noticed that it just looked just like, very similar to the world card of the tarot, and
right.
So it makes perfect sense that this would be
the motif of dividing it like that is very popular, and there are some pictures, and I've got it in the also in the tarot, blah 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 blah. But a lot of the maps would actually have divisions like this because they didn't have real maps, so they would have the ocean here, and then they would have Asia, Africa, Europe, or to represent.
Here be dragons.
Right. So in the 4 you would have the ocean, you would have Asia, you would have Africa, and you'd have Europe, whichever one they wanted to have.
Sure.
And so that's also part of the 4 division when you see them in circles.
But this is definitely the elements, though. You could see that it's broken down into the 4 elements there. Just as so where did
this particularly come from? The 2 images of the Philosopher's Stone.
The Philosopher's these are images that are to have to deal with esoterica, magic, that kind of thing.
Well, 1636. So,
absolutely.
So I don't know if.
But it's because
this is the thorn of Christ.
Right. It's definitely, you've got the Christian bent on this one.
So he pulls these from 13, but is he interpreting, or is there documentation that says that yes, this is coming from a grimoire?
I would have to pull it up in his.
Okay, yeah, you see what I'm saying? I mean, I absolutely see it. It's like I can see the connection.
Absolutely,
but I'm just wondering if this is being pulled from a manuscript, and he can apply that because this is what he sees. And not saying that that's wrong.
No, I mean Robert Place is respected.
Oh no.
But I mean he definitely, if he says that this is the Philosopher's Stone, I trust him on that.
Right.
But
it's also a coincidence here because we have the Philosopher's Stone and Harmony's Mystique. Harry Potter.
Oh well, where do you think Harry Potter got all their ideas?
Oh no, well. I'm just saying.
Which came first, Jamie? I mean, Harry Potter. As much as I love entertainment, it's based on.
Hold on. We have a lot of people out there who probably read Harry Potter,
of course,
and that needs to be pointed out.
Okay,
I can't say. I'm just pulling out something I just saw.
Sure.
I'm not even debating.
I know you're not. But
my question is that no, I see exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
If I was, I'm just wondering because we have the popular bleeding heart of Christ as you've seen, and we've got the thorns here. So just wondering if this was specifically, designed as a picture to be a picture of the Philosopher's Stone.
Yes, but the whole idea that Robert Place was making was that this was representing the heart of the world, the soul of the world, and the anima mundi, basically.
Absolutely.
Which the tarot card, the world, is the same exact idea.
Sure.
It's the
and I can see the circle. And again, it's if I had pulled them out, I've seen lots of separate images that have specifically that in history.
Absolutely.
And let me see here. I love this book. I think I saw it in here also, just as a quickie.
But while you're, you found it? Okay.
Yeah.
I do want to go into.
No, she doesn't have them in here with the division like that. Nope, that's not quite divided like that. No, but I've definitely seen that. So anyway.
But the point that I wanted to make was that So what is this soul? What's the whole idea of that? And there's basically 3 views.
Was this the history part, or are we going to go into?
This
I
is
am going to cover the esoterica when we come up. I've got Levi's and I've got the others.
This is a slight diversion, and we can hold
Okay.
off on this if you want.
Yeah, I just want to come a quick, brief run through of the history of the cards.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I've got Levi, and I've got
Okay,
all those
yeah.
coming up.
That's fine. This doesn't really pertain to any of them. This is more of like a side segue, but we can put it in wherever you want to.
The history. So just wherever it comes up as far as the history goes.
Okay.
So I'm going to cover these real quick because
Sure.
I just wanted to say,
Yeah.
again, the early deck here where we see the New Jerusalem, and the Visconti deck, referencing eternity and paradise. The image is a direct. Now, the image is a direct reference to the Bible and text of. So again, because obviously these cards were created in Italy.
Sure.
Yeah, very religious.
Yeah.
And so they were tied into the Bible. And so in Revelations 21:2, where an angel shows a New Jerusalem where an angel is showing a New Jerusalem to St. John, and John says, and I John saw the whole city, the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. So
that's the center of their world in their
right. No, I'm
exactly
the people that created these cards, that created this.
Could be.
This,
Yep.
Let's not even go down there.
I'm just saying that it's also a hexagonal city. It could also be interpreted other ways.
Absolutely. But I'm going with the references.
Sure.
That
Absolutely.
That would have been there.
Nothing wrong with that.
So, and then
Yes.
we have the book bindings. And I love these book binding ones.
The earlier ones, yeah.
Right. So these were from decks that were lost. But instead of throwing away paper because they're so expensive, they would take test sheets and things like that and reuse them in book bindings.
And so we found some extra tarots.
So we found some extra tarots. So we've got the Rosenwald, the Budapest sheet, and the Rothschild sheet. And the Rothschild sheet is right here in DC. And gosh darn it, we are going to go there.
We should. We definitely should.
So here's an interesting one for you, is because with the Rothschild card, the figure is representing Hermes, because the equivalent of the Greek god, in his right hand's a short staff. Oh, here we go. This one here. Sorry about that. Yes.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
The winged.
And I said Rothschild, and it's like I'm pointing at the other one. But the Rothschild. Okay. So Hermes, in his right hand, he's got a short staff, and he's got a winged orb, which is very popular. And again, you get to see the division. Hermes was generally presented with that short staff entwined with the 2 serpents and surmounted by wings.
The caduceus.
Called the caduceus.
Yep.
And so, also, I mean, this is some, hermetic stuff right here that maybe, there were other cards that led to more esoteric.
Sure.
That you like, that we end up discussing.
Yeah, just because the Visconti ones, which I will grant you are, lend themselves towards that more Christianized version, doesn't mean that they were the first.
Right.
It's just the first that we have, and not even that.
And this is where I get to point out the disc of the world he's saying was divided into 4 parts.
There you go.
The sky and the 2 upper parts. One side is day, one side is night. And the earth lower, part grass, part flames.
So,
on the left side, the tree on the right. And interpretation might be the 4 parts represent the 4 elements.
Fire.
Top left is water, top right is
air.
Bottom left is fire, and the right is earth.
Yeah, that makes perfect
Around
sense.
the disc, like the Rosenwald card, a band of laurels.
Yes.
So now let's, with that perspective.
Indeed. Yeah.
So if we look at the perspective here, so do we have the 4 elements represented?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I see, the bottom one, bottom left in that being
that's water.
Yep. Fire.
That looks like flames.
Yeah. That would be air. And I leaves earth, I guess. Yeah.
Well, fire.
No, fire would be the bottom right, I thought. But
Fire,
I'm just guessing.
Earth.
I'm just guessing.
Yeah. So, And the same thing here. So yes, I just think that is, and that's the picture. I knew I had something.
Right,
dealing
right,
with that.
right. It all connects.
I knew that. Okay.
Very cool.
So we got that, and then we get to bounce to the Tarot de Marseille here, which is now.
So yeah, so now that with the Marseille, it definitely. I mean, we're moving away from the whole Christianity ideas. This is becoming definitely the whole Anima Mundi. We've got this figure that is a hermaphrodite, half woman, half man. You've got the laurel wreaths. You've got the elemental, or apostolic, four corners here. It becomes an iconic something of its own, and from that point onward, that becomes the standard.
And boy, do I have something interesting about whether that is a hermaphrodite or not.
Oh, please, yes.
Oh, I'm coming up. That's one of my little revelations. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, get the hell out of here.
What?
Okay. Well, what is right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tell me.
So we'll get to that.
You're gonna make me wait.
Yes, exactly. So, but yeah. So since we have the halo here, for the Vaville, this might be the Christ figure here, standing here in all purity. And in the four corners,
Or Hermes.
Well,
Probably
but
Christ.
it's got that.
Yeah.
But we've got the four authors of the Bible.
Right. Sure.
So you've got
Matthew,
the
Mark,
angels,
Luke, and John.
Yeah, the angels Matthew, the lion is Mark,
Yeah.
the bull is Luke, and then John. And
But it all links to. I mean, those were codes for the elementals. I mean, it's very known that each of the apostles were representing each of the four elemental powers, and it's all just different ideas of, depending on your flavor, your persuasion.
was I actually pointing to was that up on the
Yes,
screen?
I believe
hope it was.
so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hope it was. Otherwise, if you guys didn't see it when I was talking,
That's the cards.
Yeah,
in
yeah,
case,
yeah.
Just in case.
I hope I had that up.
I think you did.
There's no rewind here, so that's just funny. Okay, so, but now going back to what I was going to say is because just the references and why it's, again, looking at the time period. Because it is mentioned in the Bible.
Sure.
We also find it in the Bible, in Revelations.
Revelations, yeah.
The first living creature was like a lion. The second was like an ox. The third had a face like a man. And the fourth was like a flying eagle. But I had seen that before, but I did not know that it was also in... what did I do with that? Ezekiel. And Ezekiel... oh, looks like Ezekiel, I did not... but we'll also find pretty much the same thing in Ezekiel that talks about that.
Sure.
So... then...
Well, before we get into the esoteric of
there you go. Now, what
can I segue?
So now, yes, now we're moving into the 1800s and
Okay.
the 1700s. So now, the people who started the tarot as far as the esoterica. So originally fortune telling, there was people doing fortune telling. But originally, of course, this was just a card game. It doesn't go back to Egypt.
Of course not.
Or anything like that.
Right.
But
there
are people that saw these cards and said, and may have seen people telling fortunes, divine.
That's just it. We never
we
don't know when they started
Right.
to be using for divination. Was it from the very beginning? Did it come later? There's no proof.
We just don't.
We don't know.
Okay, so but now let's go into, now that we're going to go into that, let's bring in some other thought.
Okay, so I'm just segueing here. Thinking of the card as the soul, right? The world soul. There's three different views that people have. So there's monism, which is that there's the body only. When the body dies, that's it. Okay. Then there's dichotomy, which is the belief that there's two parts: the body and the spirit, or the soul. And they kind of combine those two. It could be the soul or the spirit. Those two terms they use interchangeably.
Sure.
Then there's a third group, which I myself fall into, and that says it's a trichotomy, and there's three parts. There's the body, soul, and spirit, and soul and spirit are different. They're similar. But they're not the same. So it's kind of like...
So is it kind of like the Holy Trinity?
Sort of, but different.
3 in 1.
Sort of. Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's like, think of like H2O. It could be water. If you freeze it, it could become a solid. If you heat it up, it could become a gas. So it's all the same thing. Liquid, solid, gas,
right.
but it's 3 in 1.
3 in 1.
Exactly. That's kind of the idea.
And actually, I like that analogy of solid, liquid, gas with the water to explain even the Holy Trinity.
Right. So the idea is that the soul being different than the spirit. So the soul is deep. It's like an ocean. It's full of feeling, and that's why you have soul music and why you have soul food or soulmates, because it's that connection, that attachment.
You're my soulmate, my
Aw, you're just saying that.
I am just saying that.
I know, but then the spirit is sharp. It's like a flame. It ascends upwards. So Thomas More, who's this religious scholar, he explains it like this: the soul is it provides security, but also pain. But that's where but it's all about attachments. It needs a sense of home. It needs your place in the world. Is what the soul is all about. It needs a home, the world. Spirit is movement. Movement of the spirit. It's freedom. It's seeking transcendence. We're all naturally spiritual beings connected to the divine, but spirit is our connection to it.
Okay.
So it's kind of more fiery, right? A different way to look at it is from, according to Swami Vishwanada. I hope I'm getting that right. He says that, okay, so the soul is, he calls it Atma, and it's got shade, right?
Yep.
We're bound by karma, and when the spirit is when the shade is removed, and so you're free, you're unbound, and that's where we get Krishna consciousness or Christ consciousness, or your higher self, or tapping into the Force if you're a Jedi.
Okay.
I mean, it's all the same thing. It's that you're connecting to the Holy Spirit. It's that, but notice that they say Holy Spirit. It's not Holy Soul.
Right, and this ties into the card.
How? Oh, because okay, so it ties into the card because the card is the soul, the world's soul, and I'm saying that in my view there's 3 parts, that soul and spirit are separate. So this would be the soul, but it's connecting you. It's the first card in my last cycle. Because I've got more Triumph cards.
Right.
And so this is the number 1 out of the last cycle of 10 in my deck. And so the spirit comes later. We've got the Holy Grail card coming later. But this one is the soul. So it's a nice bridge into the unknown 3rd section of my tarot. But that's where I was going with that.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, and so and that also brings back one of the things I always like mentioning, especially for people who are reading and new to reading and stuff, is that basing cards on the culture. So you absolutely connect, and there's going to be a lot of people that connect with that. And when you're reading, some people will have different connections.
Of course.
Yes.
Of course.
But that's a good way to do a connection to it, because I understand what you're saying, because when we talk about the universe, we're talking about a spiritual universe anyway.
Yep. And that's what Crowley calls it. Is of course, the world is too small for Crowley, so he calls the card the universe,
which makes sense again because in 1600s, the world was the universe. It was the center of the universe.
Sure.
So when you said the world, you meant
everything,
the entire universe.
Yeah. Yep.
So that makes absolute sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just expanding horizons as we move forward.
Absolutely.
But
so what else you got?
So yeah, let's go forward now. That tell me about this the hermaphrodite.
Well, okay, so before we get not yet.
Not yet. You're still
yet.
making me wait on that.
Still
one.
making you wait on that one. So let's go over here, and here's where we have Attila,
yeah.
which is actually some people know this, some people don't. So if you ever hear about Attila, do you know where he got his name from?
I do. It's his name backwards.
Jean-Baptiste Alliot. So his name's backward, and so he did his here at the end of the 18th century. The French occultists started to link the tarot to Egypt, and Attila was the one who really started kicking that off because he was going to correct the errors of the original Tarot de Marseille.
And that's what I'm kind of doing. I'm gonna revise it again for my deck. It's just and Waite had the same idea. He called his a revised version as well. So each new artist, each new occultist, they put their own spin on it and saying, "Oh, I'm correcting the mistakes," and I will carry on that tradition. But yeah, the Worth was or what was it? Who were we talking about? Levi? No, we were talking about Italia.
Well, yeah.
So Italia, he's definitely one of the earliest to start the tradition of using these cards. Definitely historically for divination,
and he renumbered the cards. And
he did his own
stuff
thing
and did his own thing. Yeah. But here he's one of the first ones that adds the pyramids in here.
Of course,
yeah. He's got but he's still honoring the living creatures that are going around it.
Yep.
So he's starting to do more of the esoteric stuff, the all that wonderful stuff, and then we have Pappas here also. And as you can see, we're starting to add the Hebrew letterings.
Gotta link it in. Yeah.
Gotta link it in, and then again, these are the 1700s.
Yep.
But then we move into the 1800s, and we have here our wonderful
Oswald
Worth, which is one of our favorites.
Now, look at on Oswald Worth, you'll see that he's got the Lammas gates just like the writer Waite Smith does later. But on the wreaths, he's got those infinity symbols tying the wreath together, just like the magician, just like the strength card. So you see these cycles repeating very clearly with the ones.
Oh yeah, so the golden with this, and then you move into the Golden Dawn, and they all start. And I was thinking about I didn't add all those to the.
Yeah, sure.
Because,
can't do them all.
Yeah, I didn't want to add everybody and their mother in here.
But I do love those connections that it's those repeating cycles.
Yes. So, are you ready?
Oh, tell me, blow my mind. I definitely am of the belief that the world is the perfected soul. That that God is we're made in God's image, man and female. So it's the idea is
and
that,
so we have all this speculation going on.
Yeah.
Is it a hermaphrodite? Is it a male? Is it a female?
Both. Yes.
Or is it, as I'm about to pull up, an early Christianity and a feminization of Christ? And I'm going to show you something kind of cool here.
Yeah.
So, let me flick this over. I'm going to go to the next screen here. And here's the question.
Okay.
In this, he's got boobs. And so
very feminine Christ.
It's a very feminine Christ. So here we have the ambiguity of gender in the Greek version of the New Testament, from which other translations are derived, and especially Revelations 1:13. And that the Greek uses mastos, mastos, for breast, the word normally denoting female breasts, in distinction to stethios for chest. And numerous translations have been proposed for the section, and here's mine, and somewhat so there's and among the lampshades, and one like the Son of Man, clothed with a robe, reaching to his feet, girding with a girdle below his feminine breasts,
right?
His female breasts. And so it also goes on that we have a 14th century mystic who says, Julian of Norwich, where she speaks of Mother Jesus suckling the living waters or the wine milk of the world from his breasts.
So I totally am on board with this idea that our true nature is not flesh and blood. Our true nature were these unified, both male and female, luminous beings. I mean, that's what our true state is. So when we come down to this material plane, we're divided. Everything becomes divisions, man and woman. But we're sterile because we're not connected. And then once we transcend again and become that pure state, one with the divine, it makes sense that we would be both male and female. And so that's why you've got that scarf on the world card hiding the lower half. We've seen full nudity in the tarot before. Why all of a sudden are we being modest? It doesn't make any sense, except that it's
well, you talk about wanting to know about subversive stuff because they actually intentionally started doing away with the feminine Christ.
Right.
So
they had to hide it a little bit. Yeah,
because there was even a medieval lyric that sings, "Suck not the wounds, but rather the breast of the crucified.
Right.
He shall be as a mother to you, and you as a son to him. So you, Lord God, are the great mother." Now, people probably didn't like hearing that.
Pretty like hearing that. Not in a patriarchal religion they were trying to build.
Yeah, and so it goes on. In early Christianity, images of an effeminate Jesus, which were sometimes confused as images of Mary, were so represented as to denote his role as the nurturer of souls. And Christ in the early Christianity has been detected in statues and mosaics where Jesus is usually represented with a round, soft, beardless face. So, you want to have your conspiracy theories?
Yeah, well, I like it.
How about this? Because I think that is freaking cool.
It's interesting. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it would denote why we go from here to a hermaphrodite.
Right.
Or is this a feminine Jesus?
Or both. Or is the feminine Jesus hinting at something that is even more occult, that more secret, that we're touching on truths that, hey, you're not ready for it, so let's mask it. Let's give you a Christ figure, and because you're not ready for the what's behind the scarf.
Yeah, because this painting is from the 16th century, and it's in a hospital, Notre Dame à la Rose, one of the oldest hospitals in Europe. And so this is a 16th century painting.
Sure.
And it was originally covered up.
Yep, I can see why.
You can see where it was covered up.
Yep, fig leaves.
Yep.
Fig leaves on everything.
So who was it? Oh, Dan Brown.
Yeah.
Needs to run with this.
Right.
This is Da Vinci Code level material here.
Absolutely.
So I thought that was really cool, and I need to give a shout out to
JM.
To J.M. Davidson, because he's the one that pulled this up. So
yeah,
I'm going to give a shout out to Reading the Marseille Tarot by J.M. David, because that was one of the coolest things I got when I read that.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that's an important part of this card is that the balance of opposites. And you think about it, that's what the magician does too. He's got all the elemental tools on his table, and you think about strength, and she's balancing the opposites of she's the virgin, and the lion is the wild untamed beast, and it's balancing the two together to create that love and trust. It's the same theme, it's just taking it up a notch for the world card. Here we've got the hermaphrodite, and it is with all four elements being balanced. You've got the wands, one inside the wreath, one outside the wreath.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all the, as within, so without.
So it's got so much symbolism. It's no wonder people, started, because I know, so I'm a very intuitive reader. When I'm reading every morning, I'm looking past the images. It's like, what is it invoking? And these people, there's people who have an esoteric side, and when you see this, it's so easy to make the correspondences.
Oh, sure. They were put there for a reason. I mean, you don't have to see it, and you can still read just from the heart, not knowing anything about anything. it just, but a lot of time the images are so powerful that they still send you the message that they're trying to because the images are connect with that primal world consciousness that we all share. It's that connection that the world, that the soul wants to do. It wants to be connected, and it's connecting everybody through images.
So, yeah, and something like this, particularly since it's got so much imagery in it, is that, and I've done this, it was actually quite interesting, is that taking a card and before telling somebody what it even means, use it as a Rorschach test.
Sure. What does
and
this mean to you?
Them
Yeah.
tell you what it means.
Exactly.
And, a lot of the cards as they're going through them will tell you exactly what's in books. So I did skip one. So
It's the power of art.
I was just going to throw one.
Universal language.
Is that there is an actual name for having the four elements, for the four angels, for the four people. It's a tetramorph.
There you go.
It's a union symbol of four evangelists derived from four living creatures. In the book Ezekiel, that's what I was looking for. Each of the cherub, it says in 10:14, which is a repeat of Revelation.
Yeah.
Each of the cherubim had four faces. One face was that of a cherub, the second the face of a human being, the third face of a lion, and the fourth face of an eagle.
It's the elements again.
So
yeah.
So going back as far as even in the 13th century, and so this even with the same kind of Freudian shape.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. That's the feminine.
Which, as we come along to your friend.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Crowley will expand on that, but I mean it's pretty obvious.
Right.
This is the what do they call it? The Visca Pisces, and it's a creative symbol, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
A symbol of creation. Yep.
But yeah. So would you mind if we talk a little about
let's
right
go
away?
Yep. And so you're borrowing my card. I'll go grab another one. So
I can put it here.
No. So that you can. So we're actually streaming two different places. Let me go get my card.
Okay.
Also, another deck. How many decks do I have?
I can just put it here. It's fine.
Okay.
It's fine. Everybody knows this one. I'm just going to talk about it.
All right.
So the Rider-Waite, we've got the Hebrew letter is T-A-B, Tav, which means the mark of God. And she's got 1 foot dancing like Shiva, lighter than air. 1 foot up, which is the soul's release. 1 foot down, which is the connection to the material earth. And this card's ruled by Saturn, which is the heaviest planet. It's all that gas. But but
it's all the gas.
It is. It's heavy. But it's the weight of the world, and that's that again connecting it to the whole Hindu ideas of that karma. Carrying over, it's because your connection, your attachments, but then the scarf obviously covers the male genitalia, which is the creed of urge, is a mystery, and also the universe is slightly feminine dominant, which is why the male half is covered. I think it's also because of they're trying to get away with
things. So Waite hated Crowley. So Yeats hated Crowley.
Yeah.
Most of the people in the Golden Dawn hated Crowley. Because they were conservative. They were more Christian based than you would have believed.
Absolutely they are.
I mean, if you look at the rest of the cards, you'll see how much Christian.
Yeah.
So why is that covered? Because he's a proper Englishman.
but they don't cover anything for the devil for card. You've got full male genitalia for that one.
Yes, I understand, but I still think there's a sense of modesty. I agree. I also so some people say that it's also covering the fact that it's a hermaphrodite.
That's what I truly believe. Yeah, it just makes sense.
I haven't found a reason from what I'm interpreting whether that makes a difference other than the fact that it is male and female. Yeah.
It's balance.
I guess I don't really think about it. It just seems natural.
Yeah.
So
it's that connection to the divine. This is the last card. We're striving to connect to the divine, and in our pure state, we're sexless. We're both sexes. We're both. It's everything is one. It's unity. That's the one energy again. This is
Right.
This
and
is
so
the one.
this is the universe card. We have gone through the entire deck. We've done the Fool's Journey. And so now the Fool gets to get naked and dance.
Right? Or he's on his last cycle.
He's on his last cycle. So,
Yeah.
which means and again, so with stuff hitting up with the numerology anyway, the 21.
Yep.
So me and Mike, we always say this, but we both agree that for the numerology, I don't see it as 10 plus 10 plus 1, and then breaking that down. I see the whole tarot the same way.
Cycles of 10.
Cycles of 10.
Yes.
So this is when we did the sun.
That would be
20.
That'd be a 9. The sun's in
19. Hold on. Judgment. I'm sorry. Judgment.
Judgment.
When we did
That would be a
was
0.
20.
Yep.
Right. And so exactly. So that's the 0.
Yeah.
And then once you have had that judgment and you're rising up as something new.
Right.
And this
Is the
is what you this
This
is
is
the
what
sum
you
result.
manifest.
This
Yeah.
is the sum result of your life.
Right.
If you lived well, if you did whatever, you got judged, your heart was lighter than a feather,
You become illuminated.
then
You transcend.
they hand you a scarf
And you dance a jig.
and you dance a jig. So that's the important thing, is that this is the culmination of every other card that we've gone through.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay. So.
can I tell you why I love weight?
Yeah, please.
Oh, well, can I? So right. So
Right.
one of the
What does weight say?
One of the worst explanations concerning it is that the figure symbolizes the mangus when he has reached the highest degree of irradiation. Another account says it represents the absolute, which is ridiculous. This figure's been said to stand for truth, which it is. I know. So I love how he says, another account says it represents the absolute, which is ridiculous.
So the truth is okay, but the
The figure
absolute
has
is
been said to
ridiculous.
stand for the truth, which is, however, more properly allocated to the 17th card. Lastly, it's been called the Crown of the Magi. So
Yeah.
Wade is just so opinionated. And
He is.
again, I love the fact that he has a pseudonym so that he can also review his own books.
And quote himself.
And tell you how good his books are. I personally think my books are the best, and you should read them. I have proof that I'm right.
Proof. I said so.
So anyway, not to knock him, but he's fun to knock. He really is.
Can we go to his arch nemesis?
We can go to his arch nemesis.
Where's my Crowley card? There it is. So, all of a sudden,
I really think that we should have, like, do like DJs do and just have Mr. Crowley, pop on from Ozzy Osbourne every time. Because you love talking about this
I
card.
do.
It is.
So Crowley has a special place in my heart. Okay, so in his, it's called the universe instead of the world. You can see he likes to go big. So we've got this square halo of light, and that means that she's transcending the material. Because the material is, of course, four-sided, and she's transcending it. The serpent that's wrapped around her is a balance with dark and light. Again, that duality.
That she's actually dancing with.
She is. And then coming...
See, she's got her foot up in the air also.
She
so
does.
1 foot down,
Yep.
1 foot up. And again, because a lot of this is Golden Dawn.
Yeah. So the legs crossed. It's the same position as the twins on his sun card, and of course the Hanged Man. And this is representing freedom. The legs crossing.
That's a good point. I forgot to mention about that. So if you look at the Hanged Man.
Yep. Very similar. The legs crossed is the microcosm, and it points, if you follow the where the legs are pointing and her arms are pointing, it's to the elements in the corners. And that's of course the macrocosm. So microcosm, macrocosm, the mastery, the oneness of all, and it's that true nature again of us being that unified of the opposites. We've got let's see here, the Eye of Horus with the 10 rays is beaming down on her. And she's got this kind of like this hook that's kind of like, I'm not quite sure what this is. It's like poke in the eye, with this like this black hook thing there.
Hold on, mine. Yeah, that thing
See
right
this?
there. Yeah.
So I'm not quite sure what that is. Nobody quite knows.
It looks like it's almost like it's a hook.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I've never gone that deep into the Thoth deck.
but it must mean something. But around the ring here, we've got 72 of these little notches here, and times 3 because it's a grid of 3 deep and 72 around, and that total 3 times 72 is 216. Which is 6 times 6 times 6. But it's that material world is basically what it's representing. It's 6 is the material world, and so it's that she's transcending it, of course. Down here in this little pyramid thing, we've got the talk about including the elements. This is the periodic table of elements down in there. It's like little notches are in that pyramid if you look very closely. So that's the scientific table of elements as opposed to the four.
He definitely was trying to blend science and the spirit or the occult.
Exactly. So he covers all the bases. Yep. But yeah, it's a fun little card.
Do you know who she is?
Who is she, Jamie?
She is the goddess Euronome. Eurynome. The Pelagians, which are the ancient Greeks, say she danced with the Orphean snake right from the beginning and brought the egg to this world.
Gotcha. So another dancer, just like Sheba.
She is so as we have our dancer here, and you'll see the other ones that are dancing. Are the other ones dancing? What are your thoughts?
Oh, absolutely.
Here we have, so she...
Oh, the Worth
kind of,
the Worth one definitely. The other ones maybe not.
I should have pulled up, if we were going to go that much into the occult, I should have pulled up the wrestling, because I did have a screenshot of all the other occult ones. But I don't think I kept it.
That's okay.
I know. I'm not going to worry about it.
But basically, the soul is that part of you that doesn't die. It's separate from the physical body, but it's emotionally connected to humanity via the feelings and the sentiments. And, that's what you're connecting to. It's the heart and soul of the world and your connection to it all. That's the wholeness, the oneness. And that's why this card is so positive and beautiful. But it just is. It's wonderful, at least I think, to that it's number one of that last cycle that I have.
Oh yeah.
Because it's taking you into this unknown cards, and I've got a bunch of them. But it's like she's your dance partner, taking you into the new cards.
Right.
And after her, I've got the last cycle, which is again repeating the cycle. We've been through the cycle twice, and we're entering the cycle for the third time. But then it just kind of stops, and I just want to take it the rest of the way. So can't wait to show you the last of the cycle.
Yeah, and I really need to write down. I have an entire thing in my head that's kind of unique from what I.
What do you have?
So how to go through when you go through the cycle, do you start out as the fool again, or where do you start? Right?
Oh, so
so that's why what I want to do, and I'm actually developing this.
Yeah.
Is that once you reach that nirvana period or thing,
right?
Well, humans can't stand perfection.
Right.
And so
we need a reboot. One more time.
Maybe we're actually going in reverse. It's like we've gone through the judgment, and then it's like to the sun, and then to the moon, and then to the star. And then maybe what it is with the whole cycle thing is that we literally are just going around in circle again and again, instead of saying from 21 to 0, instead it's a mirror.
So you're going to
and
go
you
backwards.
reach the universe, and so now you're going to do the mirror of that because it's the fall of man.
Right.
It is the fall of man.
That's kind of tragic. I like to see it as
Well, no, because again, life is full of cycles.
Sure.
And if I'd even said it this morning, was it this morning where it's like, if you do something right the first time, you may not learn anything.
Right.
But if you fail the first 100 times,
yes,
you've learned a lot.
Sure.
So it's by failing
that we get better,
that we improve, and that's the cycle where when we come back up. So every time we go through a cycle, every time we fail, we're actually getting better.
Right. But the way I see it though is each cycle is just ups the ante. So you've got the 1 through 10, and then if you didn't quite get it, here it is, but we're gonna like up the ante.
Right.
And then if you still don't get it, we'll take it a third time, and we're gonna up the ante yet again.
Yeah.
And so I just see it as the same lesson, but just stronger.
Right.
This time with feeling.
Right. But the way that it's because I was just trying to think about it logically, and it's like all of a sudden you don't become a fool.
Right. Well, I see.
Or
you do.
Or when you reach
or
that
you do
level,
become a fool.
Yes, but
that's
but then if you're doing reincarnation, that is a start over.
That's the start over.
Do-over.
Exactly. Yeah.
But is it also again, if we even go with a biblical context, is it that we've reached this nirvana? It's like we've achieved it, but what do we lose when we gain perfection? I mean, it's not the perfection in art that sometimes makes it amazing, because then you might as well have a computer generated.
Right. It's the imperfection.
A song computer generated is perfect
and horrible.
But
auto-tune? Whoa.
But it's when you're listening to Led Zeppelin, and you can actually hear them go off the time a little bit.
That's what makes
But it's just
brilliant.
You feel that energy and excitement. So maybe once we reach that perfection. So that's why I want to I'm going to develop and continue working on this human nature, this human thing that we have where we reach the top, we reach the world. And maybe we don't instantly become the fool. Maybe we need to get back to that level so that we're open. We've gone through the pain. We had everything we could ever want. And that we want to come back up.
Right.
But is perfection subjective to perspective? Absolutely. Absolutely. I have had to tune my ear to listen to a lot of new music because I'm a musical director for a Shakespeare company. Go Shakespeare. And a lot of the new music I hear, before I really started getting into it, I saw it as sterile. I saw it as...
Wasn't your cup of tea.
It wasn't my cup of tea until I really started listening to it. And all it is just a new form of rock and roll. It's like you still have the poetry in there. You still have... These people they've just found new tools. Instead of banging rocks together.
Yeah.
Because whoever was banging those rocks first heard the guitar. It's like... What the heck are they doing? So
it's
yes.
It's evolution and involution and all the things. I mean, we just keep growing and spiraling to greater and greater.
Well, and actually, it's funny because when I first started doing the tarot, I was reading the esoteric tarot. I was learning all the occult, the symbolism and things like that. And it's when I realized, what might we have lost? Because I'm reading something that somebody else had read that somebody else read.
Right.
So the 1600s, we had a card, somebody in the 1700s interpreted, then somebody in the 1800s comes along, and it's telephone. And by the time it reaches us...
Well, it's good to know the roots.
It's good to know the roots.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. I'm not saying... I'm not just counting.
Some of those branches are pretty amazing.
Sure.
But it's good to know the roots.
And so for me... Now it's actually, for me, I don't lean on the esoteric anymore. Now I do, it's directed me to be the more intuitive, more in the moment kind of thing instead of, there's still correspondences and connections.
Right. And you know me, I like both ways. So I love the early decks and the history, and I love the esoteric as well. And that's why with my deck, I'm weaving them together as best as I can. I'm trying to take the roots and the branches and make a
Yep.
new tree.
Yep. And I just realized because we start getting we are almost out of time. We like to at least take a look.
Do we have time?
Let's do a quickie.
Okay.
A quickie with cards.
All right.
Where is so I loaned you my card. This one here.
Yes.
So what did I do with the bag with the rest of the cards? And so I was going to say, let's just use that one because that'll be quick and easy.
Sure.
I know, but what did I do with it? I just had it. Well, instead, maybe we will use a different deck. What did I do with that deck?
Know.
You know what? We could also... No, we're not going to.
We can use any deck you want.
I know. Well, you know what? Maybe we're supposed to use a Marseille deck since
All
this
right.
is the last one.
All right.
So I'm gonna pull up.
Find our world.
Let's find
Our world soul.
We're gonna go with the Marseille deck.
Our
here.
Anima Mundi.
I was gonna do.
Where is she?
And I tell you what, as I always say, that everything when doing a reading is an omen.
Yes.
And the fact that, look at that, that was reversed. That would have been an omen. So everything has an influence on the reading. If I can't find that other deck, I'm not going to fight that.
Right. It wasn't meant to be.
It's hard to believe I'm an atheist, right?
It very is. Sometimes it boggles my mind how connected you are, but yet how you are able to separate yourself.
Pick a deck, any deck.
Exactly.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I've got the good old Conover deck here, which is the one that most of the
Occult
decks are based on. Most of
Sure.
the occult deck, most of the deck, the Rider-Waite, the ones that you've seen, are based on this deck.
Sure.
So, do you have a particular layout? Do you want me to throw out an idea?
I'm thinking if we have time, let's do a 4-card because one for each of the elements.
Okay, so
Do you
we
think
have.
we'd-
Well,
Do you
no, I
think
don't-
we
no,
have time
we're
for that?
Already, yeah, I was gonna suggest a 2-card.
All right,
We're already over time.
Sorry, I'm.
And anything past an hour is boring.
Okay.
I know. I would rather do a 10-card.
I know. Let's do all the cards.
So how about this? So
What do you got?
where we're coming from.
Okay.
Okay. So what's blocking us? What is the gate that's blocking us?
Yeah.
And then if we can get past that, what makes it worthwhile to get past it?
Right. Okay.
So, you know, we want to
we want to transcend.
We want to transcend. We want to go through this gate.
But what are we being attached to? What
are
do
we being
you know,
attached
the attachments, because because the soul is all about these attachments. So what's the attachments? And attachments can be good, and they can also be painful. But what's the attachments, and what is the reward if we can move past them?
So here's the attachment. Here's what we need to be able to let go of and get through. And then if we can do that, what we can expect on the other side.
Sounds good.
Okay, so
Money.
attachment. Well, it's the fear. It's that fear of exactly of not having enough.
Yeah.
I mean, am I willing,
More.
By the time
physical
you get
world.
to this, she has given up everything. She has total faith in everything, and yet, can we give up that material world? Can we?
The connection,
Can we just
yeah.
have,
The spiritual as opposed to the material.
And I'm not religious or anything, but it's one of those things where it's like, in the Bible it says, do the birds want for anything? It's like you're supposed to trust in everything else.
It's harder for a rich man to get through
the eye of a needle than a camel can take him.
No. It's harder for a rich man to get into heaven than a camel to go through the needle, but yes.
Right. So are you willing to be able to move past the materialism? And that is absolutely about materialism.
That's spot on. That's spot on.
So let's see what the benefits would be.
The
So
Knight
we can go
of
through
Fire.
The Knight of Wands. So that is...
He's going to get you through.
That is... So if you were looking for... This is about creativity, because this is fire and fire. So this is about a new energy, a new fire.
And not only that, but as I like to say, is the spirit is fire. You think of the Holy Spirit, often you see that represented with a flame over their head. You're baptized with fire as opposed to water. Water is the soul. It's deep, it's soulful, it's like an ocean, but the Spirit, you're free. It's free like fire. You're rising, you're transcending. And so this is perfect to have the Knight of Fiery Wands taking you to transcendence.
Well, okay, so this is
perfect.
This right here is the spiritual vision of what you want to be.
Yeah.
Here's the mirror of that person, because here he is. Here we have the animals now looking in the future.
Yeah, he's looking
forward. We have him. So the same blonde hair. So what we're saying is that if you can give up the materialism, because this is still a mortal world that we're in.
Yep.
It's like, it's more about looking forward and having a new fire, a new creativity, a chance to really take the world on, just like this knight. We're looking at the future. He looks excited.
Yeah, he's happy.
You know, she's looking at the past, saying you need to be able to let go.
To let go, yep.
To be able to
and look,
move forward.
He's facing her, even though he's looking to the future.
Yep.
So he's still
acknowledging her. He recognizes her.
Yep.
But he's saying,
okay, we got a new path.
You know what? I've learned what I've needed to learn. I've got my Lameskate here.
Yep.
You know, I'm moving on to infinity.
Exactly.
See that? Notice how I put a Lameskate in there and moving on to infinity?
And beyond.
So, for my friends who are artists, in all reality, right now, they're really struggling, and because of all the money stuff and things like that, and it's bringing them down. Maybe it's like one of those things where it's like we can't control that, and so they still have this future in this world. It's like, you know, having faith and just believing that they can carry forward.
You got to.
You know, that there's
keep
a
that
new
spark
phase.
alive.
You've reached the end here. There's a new phase in life. You know, the knights were willing to learn and move forward.
Yeah.
So
that works.
there we go.
That works.
I'm not bored. This has been very interesting. Why, thank you. So that, my friends, I guess is another.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap. And it was Michael, thank you.
Absolutely. And shall we be foolish next week?
Next week, we're going to be fools. Next week, it's going to be the last of the majors.
The last of the majors. Wow. It's been an epic ride.
You know, it's almost tempting to redo some of the original ones, because I was still trying to figure out how to set up the cameras.
Sure.
We had things breaking.
Sure.
It took a long time.
Once we get through the...
So 21, so 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. That is 5. We've been doing this for over 5 months.
And you're not sick of me yet?
And yeah, I know. Oh, we've had some fights.
I know.
We've had some discussion.
Well, it's some fiery wands. We're 2 wands.
Oh man, yes.
But that's what keeps it fun. That's what keeps you tuning in. You like the friction, right? If we agreed on everything, it'd be boring.
Then it'd be the universe, and it's like, you know what? I'm gonna go back and judge you, and you'd be like, oh yeah, well I'm the sun, and I'm just gonna burn your ass. I'd be like, yeah, well you better be scared because I'm the moon, and you'd be like, well I'm all starry then. It's like, we'll just keep going.
Tune in for more foolishness next week.
Absolutely. So thank you all again very, very much.
Yep.
And we will see you
Wednesday.
5:30 Eastern Standard. Also, Michael, what's your website?
artyforever.com. Please visit.
Oh, absolutely.
And offbeatartwork.com.
Yep.
And
MyTarot.org. So at MyTarot.org, you will find links to our Facebook page.
Yes, to everything.
Come join our Facebook page for people that are on Twitch right here, and also on YouTube, because that's where we hang out. And I do a daily morning reflection with the tarot. It's at 7:15 Eastern every morning, and I've been doing that for almost 5 months now.
Incredible.
Monday through Friday. So, and that's my little freebie to the universe. So, again, have an amazing evening. Have an amazing week. I'll see some of you tomorrow, and hopefully see others of you on next Wednesday. So,
Yep.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.